There's a little garage on a small town street. I like to meet my friends there every week, and I know we'll talk about some facts and things, history and science and some crazy shit. Talking it out with Alan, Ben, and Nick, and I know that it's gonna be a weird-ass show. Ooh, insanity abounds. Ooh, the world is spinning round. Now we're gonna break it down.
We've already lost the line about piloting a dinosaur.
Which, the Dinobots.
Yep. You've
The
got a
Dinobots
point.
fit into that category.
You've got a point.
Well, and I'm thinking about series like Dinotopia where there were pterodactyl riders. Or
That I'm
like
gonna say
the
no.
Dragon Riders of Pern, where you had pilots.
See, I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna say no with that because that's.
Then why does
we
Coral
don't-
Skipper count? Because it's Star Wars?
No, because I'm prepared to argue that the Yuzon Vong's technophobic stance is hypocritical in that they do utilize technology. It is simply not of a silicate base, which is what the rest of the galaxy at large is used to seeing
It was
and
organic.
utilizing.
They had to grow them, but how
At-
is that
at
any
the-
different than
Okay,
growing a dinosaur to
the-
ride?
Here's the thing. The fact that the Coral Skipper had a mind, I don't really feel disqualifies it from being a vehicle because it's analogous to the control system of a modern plane, what we're accomplishing
they're
with
still
computers.
mechanical in nature. It's organic equivalent of a mechanical structure.
Despite
It's
the
not
fact that they
a
are grown, I'd
biological-
be
So what
willing
we-
to call that process more of a manufacturing than anything
So
else.
what we are defining is it must have some sort of mechanical structure rather than fully organic.
and purpose. It's a matter of purpose. A ship like that, or something like I don't know if you guys watch Stargate, either the Stargate shows. In Stargate
I just
Atlanta,
found my old Stargate VHS.
Or like Farscape, where they were on a living ship.
That
I
was the next one I was going to ask is
Stargate
how do AIs and living ships
That's what I'm saying. It
qualify
has to be
quantify?
primarily mechanical. We're gonna say that it requires a pilot or operator in order to move. So, for the sake of argument, we'll say Transformers are out of this discussion. Otherwise, all of us are going to pick Optimus Prime because, let's be honest.
Starscream!
Are you telling me that Megatron has stubbed his toe? Ergo, you command the Decepticons now?
Megatron is down. I command the Decepticons.
Literally, episode 1 of the original Transformers.
He
You're at the
trips and
humor dam.
falls.
Yeah, and his exact dialogue: "Alida has tripped and fallen. I command the Decepticons now."
Exactly.
Oh.
And that's why Starscream is awesome.
Fucking
maybe say the
Starscream.
Transformers count, but only when they're in essentially in vehicle mode, such as they are a vehicle.
Only when they are in disguise.
Yeah, because at that point they are a vehicle
That's true.
for
As
other
vehicles,
people.
they have cockpits or some
Yeah,
sort
they're
of an
being a
area
vehicle
for a person
for
to
a
ride in them.
potential
When they're
pilot.
in robot mode, they do not.
You know, I should have had this conversation with Mary years ago because she would have been able to give me an answer. But I've always kind of wondered, when a human is in a Transformer, is that like the robot equivalent of a gerbil up the butt? Because they have to feel those people moving around in there. Like, if you're grabbing the steering wheel, is that like tickling their taint? Like, it seems wrong.
Well, the bigger question is, why do so many Autobots seem to enjoy it?
Is Transformers really just a tale of BDSM and an abusive relationship between Megatron and Optimus?
I was going to go with...
Megatron, I will destroy you, Optimus Prime! Optimus, you know I can't quit you.
I was going to go with the fact that Megatron is against Optimus' xenosexual desires.
Completely off topic,
I
but
want
like,
humans
if you
in
ever
me.
read the Megatron origin comic, he is actually a super relatable character. Like, at the end of the day, it's that people were dying, and it went into two camps. People that were saying we have to ration this amongst ourselves, and some of us are going to die, and the Decepticons, which came to the conclusion of, some of us are going to die. It ain't going to be me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would rather it be you who died than me.
Megatron was a loader. He was a loader bot who eventually ended up in a gladiator pit, which is where he got his helmet. He has awesome techno dreads underneath there, by the way. For anyone who was wondering just how black Megatron is, he has dreads.
Well, he does turn into a Colt 45.
Actually, I think originally it was a Luger. I think originally it was a Luger.
Okay, could be.
Yeah, no, and in the comic for a brief period, Cobra Commander had him. He was locked in vehicle mode, and Cobra Commander was using him as a gun.
That was back before he got his upgrade to become a tank.
G.I. Joe Transformers crossovers. Well, actually, that was as a result to parents complaining that Megatron was a gun. So in order to try and preserve some vague identity, they made him, a roaming cannon on treads. But it ain't the same. That's why Galvatron is a standalone cannon.
I wish I still had. I had one of the early Megatrons that transformed into the gun with the batteries that went pew, pew, pew.
Oh, yeah, no, that was cool. Mary actually had a repro of that didn't shoot, but it was still really cool. In any case, we are getting so far off topic.
Right.
I don't know. Our topic was vehicles.
So,
Well,
and now we're talking about robots in disguise. Do you see how that's
They're
a different
vehicles.
thing? Only some of them. Soundwave is a kick-ass ghetto blaster. There's an Autobot equivalent, but I don't remember his name.
I thought in the new one, Soundwave was like a tri-carrier with a little...
No,
thing.
I want to say they showed Soundwave twice in the new movies. I want to say in 2 he was the satellite array.
yeah.
Yes.
And then in 3 he was the Mercedes SL 350, I think is what the
the
really
bad
fucking
guy's car.
gorgeous Mercedes
yeah, the
that
bad
takes
guy's
the girl
car.
hostage.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I know in the new movie, he's actually freaking like Soundwave from the show. Like the
There is a Soundwave transformer that has a working MP3 player.
Well, I know one of the early ones had the working cassette in it because the cassette.
It didn't
thing-
it didn't transform. It was just a boombox made to look like.
okay.
There were 2
'Cause I remember
versions.
the
There was
boombox that worked.
there was the blue one, which was wow, I'm fucking blanking on name when we're talking about him because I'm an asshole.
Soundwave.
Yeah, thank you, Soundwave, and then there was the Autobot equivalent. 'Cause the Autobots had a tape deck too. Yeah, no. Personally, I feel the worst one though was the fucking camera, because like it was, if I remember correctly, the toy was 3 robots, and in the show they showed like the transformation from like house-sized robot to a camera you could wear around your neck. Like that's one of the serious issues with the original fucking mass shifting.
Yeah.
Well, Transformers was always designed in order to sell the toys they were based off of.
The toys were made first. Optimus Prime is actually a holdover from a canceled Japanese toy line.
Yeah, the entire show and series was built so that they could sell these leftover toys.
Okay. Trying to get this back on track a little. Let's break this up into categories since we're doing this so broadly. We've already established one. Transformer vehicles. Favorite one of those?
Okay.
Are we going vehicle or transformer?
In vehicle mode. They have to be in vehicle mode.
Okay,
in
we're
order to
not
qualify.
bringing in their character
Okay,
or anything like that. Just
my
purely
choice.
which
My
vehicle
choice
you
has
like.
never been in the media. My choice is a really awesome model that like Transformers fans should know because it's been reissued a couple times in different colors. But the one I have is Bludgeon, which is this Decepticon tank. The robot mode is like this samurai dude with 2 swords that you can join into a staff that make up the tank component. Or in the vehicle mode, it's like this. I think it's a Chinese tank. I'm honestly not sure. I'm really not. But the thing is just bad fucking
I remember
ass.
seeing him, and he looks in robot mode. He's like in samurai armor.
Well, as far as I know, it's currently out of issue and has been for quite a while. When I got it, it was out of issue.
I will correct you there because within the last year, I've seen on our shelves a samurai guy named Bludgeon.
Interesting.
I don't think he's in the current release, but he was in the last release of Transformer toys.
Okay,
because I saw him and I'm like, hey, cool, that's a samurai. Nick would probably like this. Too bad I don't have money. I was looking at him for Christmas. With everything else going on.
Yeah. One I've always liked, branching off, is actually from Beast Wars.
Good series.
Yeah, Rat Trap's Transmetal form.
That is
That's
rare
good
as shit toy.
I don't remember who Rat Trap turned into. I didn't
the rat.
see.
The rat, yeah.
Was that?
He was the rat and the smallest of the Maximals, but he had the biggest mouth.
Oh, yeah.
The only one
I almost got an original Waspinator.
The only one I actually remember from Beast Wars was as far as toys I had was Cheetor.
I had Transmetal 3 Cheetor.
I don't remember.
I had the Falcon chick pre-Transmetal when she fused with Silverbolt, I believe his name was.
Had to have been before Transmetal because he
no,
was yellow and black.
I also
she
had...
fuses with Tigatron.
Yeah. Oh, I think Silverbolt might be the name afterwards. But
Silverbolt is the wolf, the wolf bird who the Fusor.
I thought that was made
Tigatron and Air Razor is the one you're thinking of. They get taken by one of the alien entities and then brought back as Tigerhawk towards the end of the series. As like
been a
the
long time.
emissary
Been a long time.
of the aliens.
But I had Transmetal 2 Raptor, the Velociraptor guy. Yeah, that thing was awesome. I have no idea whatever happened to
you
it.
mean Dinobot?
Dinobot, thank you. Sorry. Yes.
Oh, you mean the Transmetal 3 or Transmetal 2?
Transmetal 2. I don't believe there was a Transmetal 3 toy.
No, because in the show he's only a Transmetal. No. Transmetal, Transmetal 2 because it's regular Transmetal and Transmetal 2. I'm thinking third form, but it's Transmetal 2. The one without a robot, the one without a vehicle form.
Mine
most
definitely turned into a dinosaur with this awesome tail whip thing. I wish I'd known what happened to it.
Well, no, because the Transmetal 2s didn't have vehicle forms. They went back to just having a robot in animal form.
Oh yeah, no, it was the robot and the Velociraptor.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. I'm getting.
Yeah. To my understanding, the only ones with vehicle modes in the Beast Wars line were the ridiculously huge, Allspark fused Megatron and Optimal Optimus.
Well, no. Those were the only Transmetal 2 ones that had a. Actually, Optimus. Optimus is the only one who had a vehicle mode in this. Although technically Optimus wasn't a Transmetal 2. Optimus was Transmetal Optimus who put Optimus Prime's spark in him.
And then he became Optimal
Optimus, yeah. Which isn't the same thing as being a Transmetal 2.
No,
Weirdly,
it completely surpasses it.
Well, it's weird, though, because, he basically just becomes a crazier version of a regular Transmetal with, like, an extra vehicle mode and being really huge. When Megatron does the same thing and
he turns into the fucking dragon.
But the dragon is a Transmetal 2, whereas Optimus is a Transmetal 1. Even though the same thing happens to both of them.
The bad guy always has to be cool. All right.
I don't know. I never got into the whole Beast Wars everything as much as you guys apparently did.
It was a great show.
My favorites were always the trio of jet fighters that
the
Starscream
Seekers.
The Seekers. The Seekers were my favorite, and I actually have all but one of the Seekers.
I think I have the one you're missing, and it's technically a Starscream recolor that I've stripped most of the paint off of and then did an Arctic camo paint job on.
Oh, yeah, that one.
I love that one. Such a good mold.
No, I always loved the Seekers, but I think that goes back to being my favorite, Earth vehicle ever was the F-16.
Well, the Seekers are 15s.
I know. The 14 through 16 run, I loved the jet pilot thing when I was a kid. Probably helped that my dad was in the Air Force, so I actually got to go and see them in person. But that's probably why Jetstream or Starscream was always my favorite.
One of my favorite toys. It was never actually in the show because Waspinator never got a transmetal form. But
they made a toy of it though.
Oh yeah, I had it. It was a transmetal Waspinator. He turned into a jet. Was pretty cool. He turned into
Chicks dig biker bot.
I had one that I remember.
That's a deep reference for some of you.
Oh yeah.
I remember having one, and I don't remember now who he was, but he was like a bug wasp thing that turned into a helicopter.
I don't know.
Yeah, no. That's
And
It sounds like you guys had a lot of triple changers. I did not.
no, like the bug thing was his robot form. It was just because of the helicopter blades. It looked like he had like wings and shit, and his head was all buggy. I just don't remember because I don't have 90% of my Transformers anymore.
The coolest
Most of the Transformers I have, I've bought since I lost my original collection.
The three coolest Transformers I had, the Pepsi copy of the G1 Optimus Prime, because I have emotional attachment to the G1 Optimus Prime toy that I'm not going to get into because it'll take too long.
Yeah.
But I've got a Pepsi Prime that I fucking love. And my favorite of all my planes, because I've got a couple, is this one that it's fairly rare because it was an exclusive and I found it in a clearance aisle. It's called Space Case. It's a SKU something jet, and the plastic for the jet body is like translucent, and the translucent plastic is really finicky and known for breaking, and it's a really finicky model that like I don't play with because of how thin it is. But it looks so cool. The articulation on is almost like you can really fucking pose this thing. Its weapon is a fucking trident. Fucking love Space Case. And there's a recolor of it from one of the worst series of Transformers, the Minicon one from the 2000s. I'm fucking forgetting.
Armada. Loved Minicon. I loved Armada.
I have the Optimus Prime from Armada, which is known by the fan base as
awesome.
Super Pants Prime. No, it's not, because it's Super Pants Prime.
Super Pants Prime
It is arguably the worst Optimus Prime. I took a grinder to part of it to remove part of his feet so that when he was in robot mode, his fist could actually like move at the proper joint. This thing is so unarticulated. It's a fucking brick.
Worst toy I got, just because I thought it was a stupid idea, is another one that wasn't in the show. It's a Transmetal Rhinox.
Oh.
He's blue, and he turns into what's basically a snowmobile.
Dude, Rhinox was the shit.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of like snowmobile things inside, and I don't remember which ones they're supposed to be, but they're from one of the newer sets since the new movies and stuff. And one of them is a white snowmobile, and the other is like a gray and
the
dark olive.
The dirty secret about Transformers, they will very often use an existing mold, recolor it, and call it something new. There's any number of examples of this. One of the most notable
all of
early
the
ones.
Seekers. I mean, you look at all of the Seekers; they're all basically Starscream in different colors.
Optimus Prime and Ultra Magnus. One is just a white Optimus Prime.
Well, to be fair, I mean, they're all robots. They all kind of look the same.
Rodimus Prime looks totally fucking different. I'm just saying. The Allspark could dare to show a little more of that creativity.
Well, if you remember the original show, it was basically just blocks glued together.
All right. Well, I've got one for the table. If you had to pick one sci-fi spacecraft to live in, which one would it be?
All right, live in with like a full crew complement also on board, or live in by myself?
That does change the sizing a little bit.
Do I get like an Imperial Super Star Destroyer all to myself, or me and just a couple of
Okay,
bros.
Those would be
Okay.
some
Or-
really
Did
empty
anyone
hallways.
else instantly go to that scene from Risky Business when Tom Hanks is in his underwear and socks playing music and he just slides into camera frame, but instead it's a dude in a shitty Vader costume doing it on like the bridge? No. As they come in.
God.
No,
the
they're
fucking disco
keep-
remix.
They're keeping that under wraps for
Also, I believe
they're
you were
keeping that
talking
under
about.
wraps for Lobot to do over on
Oh God.
Bespin.
I love Lobot.
Lobot, the Asian robot.
Lobot, proof that Lando is a robosexual. Romo!
I thought the chick robot from Solo was proof of that.
Well, that just raises questions as youth. We all do a little too much glitter stim from time to time and make poor choices. That's not on Lando, and it's not our place to judge. That's up to the all-powerful space slug.
Choose one to live on. That's
Yeah, I mean, there's so many that would be really fun. I mean, the Millennium Falcon would be cool, except it's always breaking, and I have no mechanical aptitude, so that
Yeah.
would suck.
Well, the problem with the Falcon is once the nostalgia of, oh my God, I'm on the Millennium Falcon wore off. It's really
Then
not
you
that
just
great a
have
ship
a
to be on.
Then you just have a shitty ship that keeps breaking
You
down.
have
Yeah.
an outdated model Corellian freighter. Congratulations.
Right. Well, and in a lot of ways, that's a lot of the most popular Star Wars ships is...
Well, I didn't say Star Wars. You're not
Well,
limited to Star Wars.
I went first into Star Wars, but...
Because I'm just going to take this one off the table right now. TARDIS. Especially because by the time the doctor discovered me and all my stuff was moved in, he'd be like, all right, fair enough. I mean, your lifespan is a blink in my eye.
the TARDIS would be a lot of fun to live on.
I wouldn't want to deal with a doctor though.
It would depend on the doctor.
I would be fine with literally any of them. It's just a case of I'm gonna be in the TARDIS. I'm not going on adventures with you. This is literally an infinite ship. I have no reason to leave.
He'd find ways to get you off of the TARDIS.
The doctor kind of loves company.
Well, no, but I mean, with him when he went on adventures and shit, it's like he wouldn't just
I think
let you live there
occasionally-
without doing anything.
I think occasionally I'd be like 80 rooms deep down a hallway because the TARDIS is as big as it needs to be type of a deal. Like, I'll just be 80 rooms down a hallway. All of a sudden, red lights will start flashing, a klaxon will start blaring, and then a small robot will come out of a panel and be like, please remain calm. Doc!
All right,
Is he screaming into the microphone?
question, clarification. Does a space station count if it's capable of moving on its own?
If it can move from place to place, that satisfies his parameters.
Only if it can do so under its own power, not being towed. It has to do it on
Well,
its own.
that's what he said, on its own.
Well, he said mobile, which is why I have to be clear. If
Yeah.
this is a
No,
tow
it can
job,
move
it's a
on,
new.
no, it can
on
move
its
on
own.
its own. It can't move.
If it is fully under its own power,
If it has engines, or the equivalent,
well, it would have to have engines in order to maintain orbit. But
Yeah,
unless
'cause
it's
I'm
not an
thinking
orbiting station.
it's kind of a stretch, but I'm thinking DS9. If we include DS9 in that, then I'd like to live on DS9.
you'd want to deal with that vole-infested shit shack.
Both ain't my problem. That's O'Brien's problem.
Oh, O'Brien's not there. It's your house. It's not the Federation's now.
Well, no, we didn't. We've never actually specified whether or not I was going to be alone or with just its normal
well,
complement.
you see,
I would
I'm
assume
assuming that
normal
like I would
complement.
steal the
I-
TARDIS, and then after that, it's just
Well-
kind of like Jason Todd moment. It's just like, well, shit.
Well, no, but I mean, the DS9 people just live on DS9. There are crew quarters. There are people who just live there for an extended period of time, so you can do that when
I'm
it's
just
fully
gonna
manned.
put. Would
That's
you
why
really
there's
want to
shops
deal?
and
Would you
shit.
really want to deal with all the insurrections and bullshit?
All right, Quark's Hollow Suites and the Klingon restaurant. Those two things, I think, make it.
Go eat your gawk.
And Garrick.
Well,
I'd be deliberately ripping holes in my pants just to have excuses to go talk to Garrick.
I think he'd kill you after the third time. The first time when he looked at it, I was like, this was cut. And then the second time, he's like, curious. And then by the third time, he'd be like, you're wasting my time.
That would depend on the conversation. If he enjoyed my conversation.
You're no Bashir.
I
mean,
think
take that as a compliment because I hate Bashir, but...
Okay, I think I could be more interesting than Bashir.
In all fairness, a Dos Equis cardboard cutout is more interesting than Dr. Bashir, but that's neither here nor there.
I don't know.
Actually, interesting tie back to Star Trek. The guy from the Dos Equis ad was in an episode of the original Star Trek as a red shirt, and he lives through the episode.
Yeah, I've heard that story.
Yeah, he's the only red shirt to have ever lived through the
truly the most interesting man
original
in the world.
Series.
Indeed.
I don't know.
Theory.
All right.
The Dos Equis guy is also the stormtrooper who...
Dos Equis? Dos Equis.
Dos Equis, whatever, however you say it. The most interesting man in the world is also the guy who is in the stormtrooper... The guy who is the stormtrooper who bumped his head in A New Hope.
That would be awesome.
Right.
I think what's far more likely is he's the guy who had to dispose of the bodies Vader choked out. He was always at death's door at that job, but never stepped through. The chances of disappointing Lord Vader are always great.
Oh. That's always a fun thing to read in like some of the expanded novels. The people who actually have to be like constantly within close proximity to Vader, and that's just their job, and having to live with that, and see no reaction to it.
During the Lord Momon shit, every time Momon builds a castle and it doesn't work to do what they're trying to use it for, Vader just kills the vessel, picks up the helmet, jams it on some other poor bastard, and then Momon goes right back to being like, Number 6 will be great. Like, I almost feel, in a way, Lord Momon trumped Vader. It's gonna be the biggest, best dark side castle you've ever seen. We're gonna break down the barriers of life and death.
I don't know. Star Wars and Star Trek are cool. There's a lot of cool ships in a lot of different sci-fi. If I had to pick one over all of the others, I'm actually going to go to a really obscure bit of internet sci-fi, schlock mercenary. I would want to live on the post-dated check loan.
I have no idea what that is.
It is a Tessenigan super warship with full bays full of stuff, and the best part is its AI is a little koalazoid alien intelligence named Petey. And he's basically just this little floating koala guy that is way smarter than you, can kill anything he wants, and is your best friend. Actually, most of the ships in Schlock Mercenary would be a lot of fun to ride on because of the cool AIs that series does. Most of the ships have artificial intelligences that are as free or freer than the actual Sophonts in the series. And I'd love to live on a ship with an AI, even if it's something like Farscape. Farscape would be fun, although that's less of an AI,
I
never
got all
organic.
the way through Farscape. Like, I watched most of the first season, really liked it, and that just fell off my radar.
And I've never watched any of it.
I liked what I saw.
Considered it, but I've never
Farscape was wonderful for its time. Looking back on it now, it has the same issue as any of those old sci-fis in that we know more now. But for its time, it was wonderful.
I don't know. They stick to
barriers.
alien tech for like the shit that's past our ability. Like the whole, instead of a universal translator, they had that bug that they put in everybody's ear that was a symbiotic parasite.
I thought it was a babblefish leech.
No.
thing.
It was the Dentic and something else.
Okay.
Yeah, the Dentic, the golden piece of advice: never swallow the Dentic.
Well, and as far as cool ships, what about the Heart of Gold from Hitchhiker's Guide.
All right.
Wouldn't that be
an
that
awesome
is a
ship?
cool.
Yeah,
Admittedly, the improbability drive would be
That
fun.
improbability
That
drive
would
would
be
be
cool.
so much fun.
Oh yeah. Another one I have nostalgic feelings for, just because of the movie it's from, the alien ship from Flight of the Navigator.
Yes!
I would
Yes.
love to have, what's his name?
Raceroni, the San Francisco treat. Yeah, Pee Wee Herman was the voice.
Yeah,
yes.
God, what's his name?
I have no fucking.
Oh,
clue.
I can't remember.
All
the
I,
I
know
don't
is,
remember
all I
the
know is he
actor's
got
name, but
busted
it's-
for jerking off in the back of a movie theater. He has since served his time and rejoined society. I don't know if that means his debt's paid, but
No, just I do try different voices with them. See how many interesting ways I can have that thing say compliance.
Well, that and the, zoo on board.
Yeah.
Because it's just collecting life forms.
Mm-hmm.
That
Also,
would be
time
really
travel
cool.
aspect. Although that's very, very dangerous. Like you can't
Yeah.
really use
it's
that.
always dangerous and everybody's always fine. Like that's
Eventually.
that's the time travel movie I want. I want the time travel movie where they go back to try and save things and then they find a way to get back and everything is worse. Absolutely everything is worse. We
Back
went
to the
back
Future
and killed
2?
Hitler. Welcome to Super Hitler. No. Back to the Future 2 resolves itself. It fixes
But
everything.
initially, they changed things and they went into the future and everything was worse. It does happen.
Yeah, no,
But that's the
I
problem
want
with
that to be
closed
the
causality
end of
loops.
the movie.
They did that in the Flash.
Yep.
In the TV show.
One of the series ended with just
Well, when they do
Everything's fucked now. Flashpoint.
Flashpoint, he
it
goes
never
in-
goes back, and they talk about
Well,
it
no,
in several
he
places.
fixes
that
Flashpoint. He undoes Flashpoint, but when he goes back,
It's
a bunch
still
of
fucked up.
other stuff is fucked up. What is it? Diggle's
Diggle's daughter is now,
now
or
a
son
son.
is now a daughter.
His daughter is
Yeah.
now a son.
Gray
Cait-
has a daughter
Caitlin-
now. Although that was more because of their own time
Yeah.
travel shit
well,
and
that's
him
a Legends of
talking
Tomorrow
to
thing.
him.
Yeah.
But it's been established that that was also due in part to Flashpoint.
Oh, no, but
Because the Legends, the time ship there, that would be another really cool ship to be on, is Rip Hunter's ship
yeah.
with Gideon.
well, no, but
I
then you had-
kind of like the idea of Booster Gold's ship just because you know it's going to be gaudy as shit. Nothing's
Yep.
going to work right because it's from the 22nd century and he brought 0 spare parts like an asshole.
Well, and it's Booster Gold, who is all about, check me out, I'm awesome!
He always did the right thing in the end.
Eventually.
I'm not saying that he wasn't in it for the dollar bills, y'all, but he did the right thing.
all right.
Eventually.
Another variation on this question: what you think is the most realistic ship from sci-fi? As in, no, this is what it would actually look like, given what it'll eventually actually look like.
See, this is going to sound super outlandish, but I will justify my reasoning for this based on the long run of the movie. The Nostromo from the original Alien. The intergalactic super freighter. The crew. This thing was, traveling distances that the crew was put into hypersleep for the majority of the trip. Basically, they were awake for launch, calculating out the route. Then they go to sleep. They wake up when it's time to load, process shit, get all the ore loaded, get back going, get everything aimed right, go back to sleep. These things were built to be automated. They were really heavily overbuilt. You can look at the scene where it lands on the planet and be like, that's ridiculous. Nothing's huge. And aerodynamics of a brick. Well, they never say what the thrust mechanism is, but they show that this thing is clearly over fucking built. And when they show you any of the internal shots of it, because they spend a fair amount of time with the maintenance crew characters, even the inside, it's all reinforcement. It's all strong as shit, and it is all loaded with cables, tubes, this and that to do things like run life support, bring power throughout the ship. And it's just so well designed, and the attention to detail into things like trying to mark out how things would be in the future. It's just, I really like the design. Yeah, it's from the 1960s. A lot of people think it's weird, but that bulky, overbuilt. To me, that's where I think the first large, long-term spacecrafts are going to be. These massive, overbuilt monstrosities.
I haven't seen any of the Alien movies, so I can't go on that one. But the one I had in mind...
So much for our method.
Don't break the illusion!
Really, external design, I think, is going to end up being really fluid and doesn't matter in the end because we're talking about in space. You're not dealing with the sort of resistances and forces and things you do in atmosphere.
They showed this thing land in Atmo, which is why I wanted to be really clear on this.
You would have different designs for things that had to land in Atmo. But as far as the major stuff that would breach, from system to system, that kind of thing, they'd probably mostly just be an internal lattice work of reinforcements in order to withstand the G-forces of the engines. What it looks like on the outside would probably not have a lot of thought gone into. It would all be structural reinforcement.
Yeah,
so I kind of agree with you on your aliens thing because that ship was
if
all
you want like
reinforcement.
some really good internal and external shots of a similar model ship, it's not the same, but it's very similar. Prometheus, the prequel to Alien, that's really not much of a prequel and confused the shit out of almost everyone. My one-word review of Prometheus. What? At any point in time in that movie, you can utter that statement, and it's applicable.
No, the one I like, I think, is just in all aspects of it, with maybe the exception of the FTL drive. Other than that, I'll make an argument for it. The Galactica from the newer Battlestar
Galactica
does
look so
series.
good.
I mean, just the fact that it uses nukes and railguns as weapons instead of laser beams and shit like that. And it doesn't have energy shields. It's just hull. What the hull takes.
You should take a look at the spaceships in the Halo franchise because those are real utilitarian.
Halo's another one
they built engines around the biggest cannons they could, basically,
Yeah.
and the rest is
ships.
reinforcement.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the interiors look good, make sense. The fighters, the smaller ships, make sense. How they maneuver, how they work, all makes sense.
That's another one that would be a lot of fun to fly around in. Is I'm forgetting what class it is, but the one you escape the first Halo in that has just that little bit of walk around room.
Oh, the Pelican?
Y-
You're in a
no,
Pelican
not
at the
the
end of that. You are in a Pelican at the end of Halo 1.
That's right, you are in a Pelican would be fun too, but a lot of the ships from Halo would be a lot of fun to fly around in. Like as far as their single-seater ones, the like jet fighter thing, the space fighter things from Reach.
Yeah.
Would be a lot of fun to fly around. Not to live in, just to fly around in.
You know what was a really cool ship that I don't feel enough people are aware of? The Event Horizon from the movie of the same name. It's it's kind of a psychological horror movie in space. The basic premise is that the ship, the Event Horizon, is humanity's first test of faster-than-light travel. And, they launch it off, it disappears, they find it. I forget how much later, but, the original designers brought on salvage crew. They get on board, and, none of the crew is there. Certain areas are just bathed in blood, while other areas are just supernaturally clean. Like, they have no idea what the fuck happened here. And I'm sorry to get into spoilers on this, but it's like a 20-year-old movie at this point, so fuck
ahead.
everyone. Basically, their faster-than-light technology, instead of, jumping them to a new point, opens a gateway to literal hell. And rather than things spilling out, the horror comes from humanity's exposure to it and reaction. It is people fucking up people in this movie in space.
This is the post-dated check loan.
Huh.
So, very utilitarian side.
It reminds me of IG-88's ship.
Well, and each of those sides, each of those yellow squares is a full-sized bay, ship bay, to give you a sense of size.
The shape really reminds me of IG-88's ship.
Very much similar, just very, very much bigger.
All right. Favorite tactical fighter? I got to give it up to the A-Wing.
TIE Defender.
I love the ties. I absolutely do.
Trips.
And as much as
Trips
I
for the
want,
win.
as much as I want one more than like anything, at the end of the day, it's just like the A-Wing is just badass. It's sleek. It's the sports car of the snub fighter world.
3 wings equidistant, a shield, a tractor beam, concussion missiles, trips for the win.
Yeah, but mine's faster.
It's faster. But fast doesn't do you much when you're an expanding cloud of particulate matter.
That's why I go faster than the cloud. It's an A-Wing.
You would be the cloud.
There can be only one.
Well,
that
that's only
reference went
talking
sailing over Alan's
Well, and
head.
that's only talking Star Wars snub fighters. Cause
Well, no,
again,
I'm saying just my pick for a snub fighter is the A-Wing. I like ties better as a craft, but if I'm in a fight, put me in an A-Wing.
Snub fighters, I just tend to revert back to Star Wars because it's a favorite genre. But like I said, the ones from Halo, the ones from Reach, would be awesome in a fight.
Spectres?
I forget what they're called.
Yeah, it's
but
been a while.
those things are awesome.
Yeah,
in a fight.
no, the fucking dual cockpit jets.
Battlestar Galactica, the
Viper.
The Vipers.
Vipers
Yeah, I was going to say the Vipers
are really
are
cool.
Yeah. I was approaching
but
more
the
from the cool
stealth
factor.
ship, the ultimate waste and potential. I'm only slightly more okay with what happened to the Pegasus.
All right, the Pegasus went out badass, saving.
It went out like a badass, but you know what? They had already done one impossible thing with a ship. Why'd they have to go and fuck it up?
Well, and I meant to get this in earlier, but you changed us to snub fighters too far. We've done our brown-coated brethren a vast disservice in not mentioning a ship.
Without Mechanic Chick, it's not worth it. I take that back. Without Mechanic Chick, Jane, and Wash.
I was gonna bring that up too.
When we were talking about DS9, we agreed that the ships can have people on them.
You agreed to that. I didn't.
Well, fine. You can have it alone. I'm gonna go hang out with the rest.
Also,
of
2-1.
I just assumed
Motion
when I
carries.
stole the TARDIS, the Doctor would just catch up to me because he's the Doctor.
All right. Your entire thing was with the TARDIS was based on the Doctor being there.
But no. I'm assuming that I steal the
least at
TARDIS.
the beginning.
Yeah.
That I steal the TARDIS, and then the Doctor finds me later because he's the Doctor. But at that point, it's seriously Bruce Wayne, Jason Todd. Bruce comes back. Well, shit, you got 3 out of 4 tires off, and there goes the last lug nut. Well, I could be mad, but I'm just too damn impressed. That's what it would become.
It's not strictly speaking a fighter because it's a cruiser, but it is it's a warship. It's a ship designed to purely for find something and destroy the shit out of it. From Star Trek, I don't know if either of you are familiar with this, and it's in DS9. The Prometheus.
I was gonna mention the other battleship from
Defiant.
DS9, the Defiant.
The Defiant. The Defiant's cool too, but
that's getting into a slightly larger class of warships, at which point we can bring in things like the various Star Destroyers.
yeah,
and
then
the
you have
other
to start
cool
putting
things
up against
like
the Star
that.
Destroyer.
At which point, Republic carrier. The original Republic Star Destroyer, I believe the Victory class it was. The Clone Wars era one.
Is it the
That
Victory or
was
the
the-
Republic class?
That would have been the Republic class.
Okay.
Of
Yeah, the
Victory
Republic
didn't
class.
come until after
the Republic class, simply because they were underarmed as shit. But at the end of the day, they could hold like 10 times the craft of anything else.
Yeah.
Just that huge longitudinal trench down the center
Oh,
of the
yeah.
thing. Just launch everything. Fuck it.
They were
Y'all
swarm
got
boats.
y'all got 30 seconds and I'm closing the doors.
They were swarm boats. They drop in, release the swarm, and then while the swarm's going, they land their troops.
If they had just found a way to increase the durability of that superstructure.
Well, I seem to remember an episode about a giant monster that they brought back to Coruscant to do exactly that, and then the Jedi ended up killing it or something.
They didn't kill the Zillo Beast.
Didn't they kill it?
No.
No,
They put it back.
I thought they eventually
I
had
thought they
to
killed
kill
this.
it.
I thought they had to kill the Zillo Beast.
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure they ended
Yeah.
up killing
I'm
the
pretty
Zillo,
sure
Zillo
in the
Beast.
end
I remember them killing
they
the
ended
Zillo
up
Beast.
having to kill it. Either way,
Mumble.
but yeah, no. Star Wars tech never getting beyond Durasteel. Although Sun Crusher. The Sun Crusher is a really cool ship in the Star Wars universe. Quantum Diamond interlocked
Don't be a
armor.
fool. It's just a legend.
A legend that Kip Duran blew up how many stars with?
All right. Does the I assume this is mobile. I'm pretty sure it's mobile. The Starforge?
The Starforge is not mobile. The
Oh, it's not?
Starforge was a space station designed to create everything mobile. The Starforge itself was not
I
mobile,
think it's a
though.
tow system.
Okay. All right. So then it doesn't qualify. All right. Well, what we're talking about space stations. What about the Death Star?
Well, the Death Star.
The Death Star has a hyperdrive
It
in
had
it.
a hyperdrive and an engine. I would call that a
More so
ship
than if
station.
DS9
Yeah.
qualifies, the Death Star definitely qualifies
Definitely
because the
does.
DS9 couldn't move at FTL speeds. So
I'm just not cool with calling the Death Star a ship. There's
Why
something
not?
in me that is just
Is it
viscerally
because
like
it's a ball?
no.
it's because of the shape.
It's
that's
because
what
of the
it is.
shape.
You don't,
It's got to be.
and it doesn't have any like
Honestly, it's
external.
Because they
More
move
honestly,
around a planet.
It's more the
Well,
scale.
a gas giant. So if it's big enough, it's no longer a ship?
Okay.
I think that's taking a very small
no,
view
no,
of
like,
space travel.
Well, no. Here's an example. Snoke's supercarrier in Last Jedi, which, to my understanding of the current canon, also functioned as the First Order's capital. I'd be prepared to argue that something on the scale of a mobile city, like, say, Lando's mobile mining platform from that resource-rich planet that was too close to its sun, so he had to stay in the shade side
Well,
of
that
it. That
thing
was ultimately
a spider crawl thing.
That was ultimately attacked by Thrawn. My point is, it was a mobile city. And I don't identify something at that scale as a ship. And to me, the Death Star, when you look at the overall population of it, especially when you look at the larger size
then
of the
how
Death
is
Star.
the Star Destroyer or the Enterprise different than that? Or
Well,
because
I was
neither
gonna
one
say-
of those are anywhere near their
What about-
size, and
well-
the scale of Star Wars ships to Star
many
Trek
people
is
were on the
monstrously
Enterprise?
different.
Depending on which one you're talking about.
take the biggest one.
No bloody A,
The D.
B.
If you're talking about, go ahead, finish the reference.
C, or D. The Enterprise.
Okay. No. If you go with the Enterprise D, which had the highest crew complement, it's over 1,000.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
that's
but
a little
when
bit of a unique reasons.
When you
But
compare that to a
Yes,
kilometer-long Star Destroyer, though,
most of them number in the hundreds. But no, I was going to say, what about things like generation ships, or like the thing from Knights of Sidonia?
Well, that would very obviously for him
Because-
qualify
Well,
as a
okay.
flying city, not a ship.
But I mean, it's very much. I mean, its entire purpose is to move people from one place to another. That is.
I will make a special caveat
The
for
arc
siege
from
ships.
the arcs from Mass
Because
Effect.
those were purpose built to be a transport to somewhere else and then be converted
Yeah.
into a new sustainable, thing. They weren't meant to be a ship forever, but I would be prepared to argue that a siege ship is something wholly unto itself. Especially because there's any number of examples in a sci-fi of siege ships being considerably smaller in scope than something like that.
Well, but I mean, even like with the Death Star, though, the Death Star was designed to move around from target to target. Its
It was-
movement is part of its
Deploy-
purpose.
It was a
soldiers.
weapon platform.
It was a mobile weapons platform, yes.
Would you argue that an artillery gun from World War II was a vehicle?
No, but a mobile artillery gun from World War II isn't designed to carry people with it. It's a self-propelled weapon.
The Death Star is for utilitarian purposes, though. It is a weapons platform.
It's also a
first and
command center,
foremost.
though. It's also a command base. It's you know. Also, it's not just a weapon. The weapon itself is only what, like maybe a tenth of the mass, or of the volume.
The vast
of the
majority of it is reactors to power said weapons. So I'm prepared to argue that no, most of it is the weapon.
Because the dish itself actually doesn't take up that much of the actual volume of the ship.
And when when you look and read through the Sun Crusher, everything, the prototype Death Star is basically a hollow sphere with the generator at the center and the dish and a framework of the circle. They talk about in that book how the Death Star was built to as big as it was in order to transport that many troops and ships and things like that. The weapon itself is the dish and the generator, held together by a frame.
I will say
everything else is personnel. That's why when Durga the Hutt later made the Darksaber, it was much, much smaller.
See, I have issue with that, though, because the original canons, the Death Star was always meant to have a flank of Star Destroyers as a security escort for it.
Yeah.
It was meant to be. It was meant to be a fixed defensive position.
Then why'd they give it hyperdrive?
If you didn't cut me off, movement was merely a necessity of the weapons platform. To me, this is no different than putting a cannon on wheels. This is just the space upgrade equivalent.
To me, it's more like it's like a battleship.
It isn't a cannon on wheels that somebody drives called tank.
That also, but like think about like a battleship is basically a moving platform for large artillery pieces. But that's a ship or a carrier, which have been described as floating cities, are platforms for an air groups, but we still call those ships. They
I
also
have a hard
form
time with anything that could be mistaken for a moon being a ship.
Then again, that comes back to what our original point, that your real problem
is size and scale.
Is the shape of it. It's a round thing that's compared in show
it's not
to a moon.
It's honestly,
it doesn't look like a ship. That's your problem.
It's the mass and the lack of creature comfort. Like, for instance, and this is old canon and current canon. They have made sure to reestablish this. As far as entertainment for off-duty troops, the Death Star had a bar.
How does that compare to other Imperial vessels, though?
Other Imperial vessels had things like rec lounges for their people because they knew they'd go stir crazy in fucking space. Officers still had officers' clubs on board Star Destroyers. They were not notably that much
But the Death Star
better.
had nothing but a bar.
One bar, and numerous Imperials have stated it is not a good bar.
Well, that even makes it even less of a city and more of a ship or something.
See,
with none of those comforts,
it's weapons
purely
platform.
there.
What that makes that is bad writing.
Tarkin
Very bad writing.
refers to it as a weapons platform. He refers to it as a battle station and a weapons platform repeatedly. Neither one of those, to me, says ship. Yes, it's capable of movement. That's necessitated by what it is. It's not like Starkiller Base where you can aim half a galaxy away.
All right, if you have a naval vessel with one large main cannon and then supplemental secondary weapons like anti-air weapons.
I would like to point out there is a later Imperial weapon that is functionally a miniaturized Death Star cannon on a Super Star Destroyer, and I will argue for days that that's a ship.
Well, and we have to remember the Hutt's Darksaber.
The Hutts had a Darksaber?
It was Project Darksaber, and it was just the weapon of the Death Star with none of the extra carrying people.
I thought
And it
I thought
was-
Darksaber was the Kyber nuke. Okay.
It was a Death Star beam without all of the extra vehicle bays and personnel carrier stuff. It was just the weapon itself, and it was much smaller and
Well,
very mobile.
And I think a definition here might be is comparable amount, like I was getting at, comparable amount of mass. If less than half or something like that of the mass of the thing is the weapon you're speaking of, then it would be more qualified as a ship. It's a ship with a big ass weapon. If a majority or the overwhelming majority of the mass of it is just a weapon system, then you have more of a point like with the mobile cannon.
To my understanding, the majority of the internals of the Death Star was a prison complex, life support systems, meaning hydroponics, waste disposal, all the good things that go with that, food production, blah, blah, blah,
Right.
blah, blah. Housing, which, knowing Imperial standard, is not great, even if you're an officer. You're going to have a shitty bunk in a small room. Tarkin probably had a good room. Tarkin probably did. I mean, he had the nicest chair. Dude, he had the nicest chair at that table, and I feel that was just the ultimate look at my massive dick moment.
It would have been pretty Spartan though.
Yeah,
Dude
no,
was very minimalist like that.
In Legends canon, which I'm far more familiar with, and to my understanding of the new canon, the Death Star is described as just this desolate, utilitarian, military skeleton of a complex. It's bare minimums. Like, it almost sounds like a Siberian post in the Soviet Union for the military. Not an exile where they just send you out there and occasionally you get money for food to keep your ass out there, but like someone who had to stand out in the cold every day with a fucking Kalashnikov.
So you're saying most of the actual mass of it is the weapon itself?
To my understanding, 2/3 of the overall mass is power supply and the weapon platform itself. It is a huge thing.
That may be new
All right.
canon. I don't know new
That is
canon as
not
well.
new
That is
canon.
definitely not
New-
legend.
That is not new canon.
To my understanding, that is the composition of the Death Star 2.
The new canon,
I don't know about the Death Star 2 because they never finished it, and
It was
but
fully operational.
all you get in Legends was variations on the Death Star 1 in various stages of pre-creation. The Hutt's variation of it happened not too long after the second Death Star, but they were using plans from the first Death Star.
No, in the newer canon, it's very much kind of stated when they're talking about the building of it. I think this is from the Tarkin novel. That the weapon itself isn't actually that big. It's the like I said, it's mostly the dish and the beam projector going in a cone shape down in towards the center of the
you
ship.
know why, according to canon, it has that cone? Because originally they tried to design it with a single beam and they couldn't control it, so they had to divide the beam.
But the rather than the rest of the station is basically just a normal station, just scaled way the frack up. And that the thing that gives the weapon most of its power, its excessive levels of power, isn't like just huge numbers of reactors. It's the kyber crystal that they use to power it. Actually, you know what? Now I don't remember. It's in the Catalyst novel about Jyn Erso's father, and that's the thing that the reason why it took so long to build the Death Star is the power source for the weapon, which is the kyber
the
crystal.
number of kyber crystals they needed to create the lens.
Properly being able to manipulate the crystals in such a way to get the energy output that they were looking for was the biggest hiccup, and it's why in Rogue One why he wants Erso to come back, because that's the one last hang-up. They have the station built for the most part, because that was easy. It's just a giant station. It's the power source, the crystalline power source for the weapon itself, which is the problem, the hard part. So
I'm also going to throw this out there, and you may poo-poo this reasoning, but I also have a hard time arguing it's a ship because Palpatine had to strip literal planets of resources to build this thing.
Again, it goes back to your problem is size and scale.
No. People have calculated this out. There's not enough resources on Earth to build a Death Star.
Oh yeah.
Well,
he
in
strip-mined
Legends,
whole
they
planets,
talk
yeah.
about the fact that he strip mined like 8 planets to make it or something. But your
how is
problem
that a
always
ship?
comes back to
All right.
size and scale.
Yeah, well,
you
in that
can't
case-
conceive of a ship being that size, so it can't possibly be a ship.
What if they built a super Star Destroyer and just scaled it up? The exact same proportions.
That's
In
what
every
Snoke
way-
did.
That's what Snoke
Yeah.
did, and I made the argument about moving city being different from a ship.
Your problem is once it gets too big, you refuse to call something over a certain size a ship.
After
For
a certain
you,
point,
ship
it's
is defined by
you
size.
can literally dock multiple Star Destroyers in Snoke's ship.
Yeah, but it's a ship. It's a vehicle. It's a mechanical machine built for the purpose of moving people from one place
Your
to another.
problem is grammatical. Your problem is your definition of the word compared to our definition of the
It
word.
Yeah.
feels like a different thing.
It may feel like it, but that's a totally subjective,
See, that's
vague,
just it.
undefinable thing.
Well, no, that's how language took its form. When we felt
my
something
point is
wasn't
you're not
being
giving it
adequately
form.
described, we came up with another
We're,
word.
we're asking you for a definition of
We
where the line
add
is, and
super
you're saying
before the word ship.
I don't feel like it is. That's
And
not
I'm
giving a
say-
definition. That's just a vague sense.
Okay. If I can't give you a straight answer, I can at least say this much: the Death Star is too much.
All right. I will give it to you that we don't want to call a space station, even if it moves, a ship. That's perfectly fine. I just did not agree with your reasoning there. So.
Oh, yeah, no. In your argument, I would have pointed out DS9, the fact that it's a station, not a ship.
Like,
even though
I have
it can
expected
move.
you to say
You
DS9
had
was
valid
not.
arguments.
I'm iffy
You
on
just didn't
allowing
make
DS9
them.
at this point.
Well,
in this
and that's
discussion.
what I was going with. Is you allow DS9, and if you allow
Well, yeah,
DS9,
you
you've
were-
got to allow the Death Star.
See, and
And
that's
if
just
you
it. I was
allow
iffy
Snoke's
on that
ship-
to begin with.
All right,
It's-
so then, yeah,
Well,
we-
and as you keep calling it, it's Snoke's ship. Well, you're allowing that, even though you've already said it's
I'm trying to communicate in the way which you guys will agree with as to not stir the shit.
As a further example,
Oh, but stirring the shit is what
all right,
we're here
as
at
a
this
further-
table for.
As a further example, let me put it this way: the difference between the Death Star and Starkiller Base. Starkiller Base is not a ship. The Death Star is. The big difference is most of Starkiller Base is a pre-existing planetoid. It's basically like, I mean, it's a big giant rock rather than an animal, but it's like strapping a big giant weapon onto an animal and calling that a vehicle. It's not. It's carrying a weapon, but it's not a vehicle.
Into the ridiculousness of sci-fi. Invader Zim, when they mount engines on Mars and he flies it. Is it a ship?
Nope.
Discuss.
Still a planet.
Yeah, it's still a
Yeah,
planet.
it's a flying
even
planet.
though within the language of the show they say they turned it into a spaceship.
Within the parameters you
I-
guys have laid down during this discussion,
It's
it
not
is a
ship.
spaceship.
No, because
I
the
do.
planet itself is not something designed
Just
to move
to
from one place
nerd
to
out
the
on
other.
but they
Zim for a
designed it
second.
to.
Just
They
to nerd
added
out on
engines
Zim.
and figured out how to make it work.
But the
A chunk of steel is not designed to fly through space. But when you add engines to it and a seat, it becomes a ship.
Given that the majority of space debris
And they
is
totally added a seat to Mars.
given that the majority of large space debris is largely made of iron, I'm prepared to argue that no, steel is intended to fly through space. The universe made it so.
Meteors aren't ships. If
you
you
said
won't let a
steel.
planet be-
You said steel.
I did. But steel
I
is
was
not...
making a point about steel flying through space, and well, no, that's kind of like mostly what it does when you get right down to the materials involved. Kind of like gold. Most of what gold does is not be on Earth. That is mostly what gold does.
Well, if we're
All right.
breaking things down to our
The
core
per-
components,
every
you could
element
say
of
that
the
people
universe
are out
mostly
there
is
all over the
not
place.
on
I mean,
Earth.
their carbon is out there.
Yeah,
mean,
no. Earth's
you can't
biggest
define
claim to
things quite
fame,
that broadly.
cars. Cars, I would assume. I assume most species would abandon that pretty fucking quickly, and probably wallabies.
All right. First of all, what do you have against wallabies?
Nothing. I'm saying they're unique. I'm saying we're special. We got them. fuck everybody else. What, you don't like marsupials?
No, I'm fine with it, but how are they that unique? They're very similar to kangaroos.
Yeah, but they're, like, better.
Well, and you're assuming any other planet has anything at all like us on it.
Well, okay, statistically speaking, there is life out there.
But not necessarily life like us.
Oh, no, it's probably nothing like us. The idea of it being bipedal
we have
is
anything
laughable.
unique.
Like, the way we evolved to be bipedal is fairly comical to begin with.
Saying
that
that
makes sense.
anything we have is unique is you
hunting
have
in
to say
shallow tidal
everything
pools,
is.
he who could wade out farther could get the bigger fish. Like, I
Well,
understand why it happened.
No, that's not.
That's what I've been told is how we developed upright walking hips. It's because we stuck to coastlines in the early days.
No. It's primates that moved out of the forest areas onto the savanna, the long grasses, and the ability to, for the same reason a lot of semi-quadrupedal animals have the ability to go upright, to see over things, is the basic origins of that.
See, what the theory I was told as a kid for how we developed upright walking was by our earliest tool using days when we first figured out shit like the sharpened stick spear, going for fish in tidal pools, given how nutrient rich the food source was and how abundant it was. He who could wade out farther could get better food and more of it.
All right, considering human beings didn't first emerge anywhere near the actual oceans or anywhere where there would be tidal forces, that doesn't seem probable.
All right. You know, let's move this in the opposite direction. What's a sci-fi vehicle you feel is overrated?
Can we say the Millennium Falcon again?
I'm gonna say the DeLorean from Back to the Future. I think everyone needs to eat shit on that.
The DeLorean has a whole lot more of a following than it probably should for just being a time machine made out of a fucking DeLorean.
Yeah,
well, I mean,
the
it's
fact that
also
it
part
has
of a cocaine conspiracy and the tale of the American dream going up. You've never heard the story of the DeLorean Motor Company.
Oh,
That's an episode unto
I
yeah.
thought you were
itself.
saying
yeah.
Back to the Future was about cocaine, and I'm like, wait, that's one I haven't put
refuse
together
to
yet.
believe a movie made in the 1980s did not have cocaine on set somewhere. So
Doesn't mean it was about the cocaine.
doesn't mean it wasn't.
He's not wrong.
They gave up on the ice budget for the DeLorean because they were like, we need more coke.
No, the biggest problem with the time machine in Back to the Future is the fact that it has to get up to 88 miles per hour before it activates.
That was
Why?
because that
The
was
script
the max
originally
speed
called
of
for
the,
100.
I thought originally called for 90, but they
Nope,
couldn't get it
nope,
up
they
over
backed
88.
it down to 90 when they found out what
Okay.
the horsepower on the fucking thing was, and then they could not get it to fucking 90, and they had the radar gun, and
88 was the highest
spoofing
they
that
ever
screen
got it.
back in those days would have been so much more money than it was worth, so they just changed it to the highest speed they could get out of the fucking thing. I feel that the greatest pop culture reference to this fact comes from American Dad in the episode where Stan and Steve go hunting DeLorean parts. Stan is into the DeLorean because of the story of the guy who started the DeLorean Motor Company and it emphasizing the American dream and all that. And, you know, he was a self-made man. And Steve is like, it's the car from Back to the Future! And, of course, Stan's never seen Back to the Future. And at one point, he makes the line of, we've got to get this thing up to 88 miles per hour. I knew it! You have seen the movie! What? No, I haven't. That's as fast as this goes. It's not a very fast car. Neat looking, though.
Yeah.
Well, and that was most of the reason they used it in the movie was gull wing doors looked spacey.
I think it's because a Lamborghini would have been too expensive. I don't know what an 84 Gallardo was going for, but probably a lot. If the Gallardo was even around in 80, I don't know.
I think this would be a good time for you to share your thoughts, Nick, on the Battlestar Galactica base stars. The design of the base stars.
Oh, okay. I don't think that's overrated. I just think it's weird as shit. So in the new version of Battlestar Galactica, I've not seen enough of the old one to be able to comment to any level of that. But in the newer version, the Cylon base stars, they're like this they're basically Stars of David, and I've had to resist making Jews in space jokes the entire time we've been watching the show.
But Mel Brooks.
I was about to mention that so I didn't come off as an anti-Semite, but thank you for making me look awful. I love you, Mel. Please forgive me. But no, like, they're really weird because it's like this two, like, almost ninja throwing stars stuck together. And for the life of me, I cannot figure out any logical reason for that design. Like, even if you have bays on each of the arms, your deployment route intersects the other arm because it's a triangle. The angles will always intersect. This is a bad fucking design. And then on top of that, because it's two of these things, like, welded together, there's this entire central column bit that all I can think with logical design is power generation has to come from there. There is no way they can defend a spot that large against individual fighters potentially carrying bombs, and they've shown they are very susceptible to nuclear weapons at that point, or just ramming with the Pegasus because, fuck resources, because, they can just build another one in space. But, I'm not happy about the Pegasus. I'm not through the series yet, but I will say this much. Adama, balls of steel. Drops that thing in Atmo, launches fighters, and then jumps away. No ability to control this thing in Atmo. It's just a brick hurtling towards the ground, like 80 feet to go. Whoosh.
Your reaction to that moment was just beautiful, dude.
I think that's a decent time to segue into the Borg cubes.
Oh, those are awful too.
Yeah, the whole idea of a giant cube that flies through space and everything.
Well, okay. In all fairness, that came out in the 90s, and the idea of digital in the 90s was very angular and pixely. So for the argument of how would a machine design something, a cube is a pretty efficient use of space. Sphere is better, but a cube is good.
I was going to say, what do you think about the Borg spheres?
Oh, there are Borg spheres?
I don't think I've ever seen Borg spheres.
I don't remember.
Is that one of the movies?
Yeah, and
Been a while.
I haven't seen
when
any
they
of the
destroy
movies.
the Borg cube in First Contact, before it blows up, it launches a sphere, a smaller Borg sphere, and that's what they follow back in time.
Okay.
The sphere idea makes more sense to my mind.
Well,
but I know that's
it's
just
the most
merely
efficient use
geometric
of volume, but
well, that and if they do have to take it into atmosphere, it's no longer giant wind baffling.
well, okay, Mr. TIE Defender over there. I'd like to point out the only reason a TIE fighter can fly in Atmo is inertial dampeners because they have the aerodynamic properties of a fucking brick. Not one of those nice red bricks either. One of those fucking cinder block jobs.
Oh, no, I understand. The TIEs were not built for in-atmo flying, but
That's what the TIE Striker was for.
Yeah, they built a variant for that. You change the wings out. Same ball cockpit.
No, the Striker actually worked as a APC. You could carry an 8-man squad in it.
Oh, that seems larger than a TIE fighter then.
It is.
Okay.
It was designed for surface-to-air shuttling and in atmosphere conflict. Yeah, it's capable of spaceflight, but it's got the same lack of shields, and in space, it's a bit of an odd duck. So it's no good on that level. But as a surface fighter, they're fantastic.
Well, that's one of those weird things about landing craft in all of the different variations is your landing craft tends to be either heavily armored and slow or ridiculously lightly armored, and you're wondering why you're putting people in it.
What about the Lambda-class shuttle? That had decent shields and deflector plating.
But it was really slow, not very maneuverable.
It had a hyperdrive.
Hyperdrive is straight line speed. I'm talking about, like, in Atmo, like, in the act when it's having to go and drop troops or whatever, it's not a very... you would think that a ship having to drop past enemy fire would be a little more maneuverable. than most dropships tend to be.
I'd also like to point out the Lambda class shuttle was like for officers and shit. That wasn't meant to be.
There was a
everyman.
version that was a troop dropper. It had
didn't
stubbier
that have
wings and
didn't that have a
larger-
different classification though?
It may have.
Been a while.
It was probably one of those series of letters and number designations that I don't remember.
But in any case, Alan, you've yet to shit on a franchise. Come on.
Well, I'm trying to think of one here. The one that comes
Pretend
in
it's a German porn star and just shit all over it. Don't worry.
Ew.
Don't worry. Inga likes it.
It's the Munscheiser.
My favorite thing to do anytime someone gives me just, sort of a rhetorical affirmative response, I just look back at him and go, und ja. Because that's the most disturbing accent you can do that in. Just any other language. And that's nowhere near as disturbing as und ja. Und ja.
No, all right. It's a fairly obscure thing, but it's one of the ones that come to mind just because it's part of this thing that annoys the shit out of me. If you remember from Next Generation, when Lore gets the Borg group together, and
I
he's got
remember that
ship,
episode, but I don't remember the ship.
Basically, the back part of it is fairly standard, but then it's basically got the neck of it, rather than just going straight forward, curves out and almost like a crooked, like line segmenty, where it's not a round curve, but kind of like that.
Yeah, like it's boxed off.
Yeah, it goes straight line, curve.
Yeah.
Curves in an angle, straight line like that.
Yeah, I get you.
And then comes in at the round cockpit part at the front from the side. Why? It's not even symmetrical.
Because Lore is an evil genius.
There's no genius behind that whatsoever. All you're doing is
He's
wasting
thinking on a
building
different
materials.
level than you. He's Lore. Don't question Spiner.
Oh, okay. Well,
Don't question Spiner.
I'm not questioning Spiner. I'm questioning the shittier version of Spiner. Spiner Prime is awesome, but Spiner 2.0, which is Lore.
Well, and
Sucks.
Another one that I've forgotten to mention is all of the various ships in Cowboy Bebop. Or, the Bebop itself is a pretty cool design, but it's not really well
I
put
like
together.
the hybrid of
I like the swordfish. Spike's fighter.
Yeah, no.
The swordfish is
Phase
awesome.
is weird.
Phase is weird. In
Atmo it's weird. In space, that's like, yeah. But no, like the Bebop, like the coolest part of the design of that ship, for my money, is like the fact that it's hybrid, like aquatic oceanic ship for its landings. Like, that's so fucking
it lands
badass.
in water. And I like the fact that it doesn't have its gravity is because it's the central section spins.
Yeah,
it's spun gravity. So much of the science fiction stuff, they have gravity generators. Down is down, whereas on the Bebop, down is out.
I love all the bits of like them trying to figure shit out and just floating in the background
down
doing
the
weird
hallway.
shit.
Yep.
I'm doggy paddling through vacuum behind her.
Another one, Kylo Ren ship.
Yeah, that was kind of trash.
It makes no sense on multiple levels.
If you want to diss Disney, I could be here all day.
No, we're not.
Yeah,
going
no.
down
Can
that
we talk
rabbit
about
hole.
the bombers? Can we talk about the bombers in 8? And how horrible of a ship design those are.
Can we force feed Ryan Johnson human excrement?
Well, I'm
Can
sure
we change
could.
the fucking subject?
I don't think we could get away with it, though. Especially not once this goes
online.
online.
I think we've gone too far. All right. Hidden gem. I'm going to steal yours off the bat. Last Starfighter. for those who are uninitiated with that movie, it's a 80s, I argue, B movie, but I think they were honestly trying to like cash in on the success of Star Wars.
They were, and
Like-
it actually they put a fair amount of money into the CGI and everything into that movie, and it is absolutely wonderful, and I love it. But
it's
the
fun to watch,
Starfighters
but like the plot of it is so absurd. Fucking desert trailer park trash, which is a whole other level of trailer trash. Like, desert trailer trash, you have to try to come in contact with society that way. Other trailer parks, you're at least on the outskirts. But, no, like, this kid's just playing a video game, and then some weirdo shows up as, like, you completed the recruitment thing.
He had to get the high score and finish the game. But then, Centauri comes and picks him up in a flying car spaceship thing that looks like a car, but then he hits buttons.
He's
and-
rich.
Yeah. Well, this alien created a video
The
game and sent
dialogue
it out
is
to all
terrible,
the
but the
different
movie's
worlds
great.
as a recruitment thing. To fight the Armada. The Kodan Armada. Oh, God, I love that movie so much. But, yeah, no, the ships, like, you have the gunner and the pilot sitting, the gunner is sitting on a platform above the pilot in, like, this double-decker cockpit type thing. And both of their chairs swivel a full 360 up, down, left, right, like, as they're doing stuff. So they're just sitting there tumbling around in these ball chair things while they're flying through space fighting dudes. It seems like the most ridiculous
It is
pattern
ridiculous.
for a spaceship ever.
It is ridiculous, especially after the entire fighter corps gets wiped out. Then it's just desert white trash and one alien dude, and the line, "Oh, that would be fitting if there were any starfighters left." And then they go because inspirational
The last
bullshit.
Starfighter.
One dude takes out all of it because we can't rip Star Wars hard enough.
I was actually gonna tap you about other. You watch a whole lot more of the sci-fi anime than I do. What other spaceships and stuff in the anime? 'Cause I don't remember there being anything other than the orbiting Ark ship in. God damn it! With the glasses, red coat, guns, desert
Vash
planet.
the Stampede.
Vash the Stampede.
Or Trigun.
Yeah, Trigun. I think we only ever see their Ark ship in that one.
No, there is actually a flashback episode with Vash and Knives as kids on board the Seed ships when they bring down the fleet. There is one episode where they show you all of the lost technology when it was still working. Yeah, I know. It's such a good series. Go watch Trigun. I don't care that's 20 years old. Go watch it. Actually, this year, the English dub can buy a beer. So you know what? Get a six-pack, sit down, treat yourself.
But the ones I was actually thinking of is Gundam. Your Gundam series.
Okay.
Talk to me
there's-
about Gundam.
Oh, there's any number of ships there. Oh, God. Like any of the Zabi cruisers, but that's because I have a unhealthy obsession with Zaku's.
And all of the Gundams themselves are ships, right?
I'm prepared
like,
to argue
they're
that a mobile
piloted-
suit is its own deal, hence why it's called a mobile suit.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Okay.
Maybe some of the mobile armors could be defined that way, but not all of them.
Because it's very similar to what they did in Pacific Rim. The only reason those aren't spaceships is because they didn't go out into space.
I loved Pacific Rim. But no, like as far as like Gundam ships, shit, the original White Base would be amazing simply because that is the ship that started it all. That is the ship that through the 1 year war carried the Gundam Mark I, the gun cannon and gun tank, and wiped out almost single-handedly the invading Zabi forces. Like, the shit's just insane. And admittedly, even though, it gets taken out, they rebuild it bigger and better to the point that almost every incarnation of Gundam has some iteration of the White Base. it became so legendary that the zombies started referring to it as the Trojan horse because it looked so unassuming, but it housed the enemy's most dangerous weapons.
That is actually
And, like,
really
as much
cool
as I
how
would-
like, from the pictures I just pulled up, it almost kind of looks Sphinx-like.
Kind of, sort of, yeah. Yeah, no, and it used magnetic launching rails to fire out the Gundams, both in Atmo and in space. Just the slingshot mechanism on it was so cool. And Gundam established so many things in sci-fi that get taken for granted. Like, one of the things that was established very early on that a lot of sci-fi ignored but became a staple later on, the normal suit. The idea of an environmental suit when you're in these ships.
Suits is a whole separate topic we'll get into after we're done talking
I know.
ships.
I love Gundam so
because
much.
any talk about suits is a talk about catheters. And
I love Gundam. No, RoboCath is in Knights of Sidonia. That's a different show.
There's several different sci-fi series where there are catheters of variant types.
Yeah, but Knights of Sidonia had RoboCath, and they show you an entire line
Oh,
of people
God.
taking it at once.
That is
So does Schlock Mercenary.
nightmare
They
inducing.
have a couple of instances of robo-catheters and...
The look on the crowd's face of mild horror and arousal. but oh god, there were so many cool ships in that. And like honestly, I liked most of like the bad guys' ships. And again, that comes from like
Well, that's a stylistic thing. The bad guys always look cooler.
like in
In
that,
everything. The
in,
bad guys always look cooler.
well, like in fucking Macross, the Zeons, their ships, those are fucking badass. Just lined with ventral cannons out the ass. These things just devastating in a fight. And actually, to Macross's credit, when they show like large-scale ship combat and like them trying to like level cities with these weapons, you know, as weird as this is gonna sound, it's surprisingly realistic. There's no one-shot kill. That's not how it works. It's multiple barrages, and they're not successful immediately. It shows a military campaign rather than a villain of the week motif.
Going back to the idea of, how'd you put it, hidden gems
Hidden gems.
from Star Trek, the Akira class. I don't know if you
Well, I
guys
was
remember
more
these.
referring to an intellectual property that people are unfamiliar with.
Oh well, but I mean, it's a ship that most people wouldn't be familiar with. It's a
I'm
common
sure, but
property,
I'm also prepared to argue most people are unfamiliar with anything besides the Enterprise. I'd even
Yeah,
be
I was
prepared to
gonna
argue that most
say-
people couldn't identify a bird of war.
I was going to point
Bird of
out, I
prey.
love the
My
Romulan
point
bird of prey.
exactly. I'm a nerd and I didn't get it right.
Yeah, you're just not that kind of a nerd, though. That's just not your fandom.
I feel there's a great level of out of touchness here, and what I find hilarious is that each of us think the other one has it.
I don't know, calling back on silly spaceship designs, can we talk about Boba Fett's ship? I mean, it flies like this, but it lands like this. I didn't know, but seemed cool.
Pretty damn comfortable, let me tell you what.
Yeah.
See, I have other issues with the Slave One, because like from what they show you of the exterior versus what they talk about is in it in like the novels and shit. Like there's some serious size problems here.
Size problems and gravity
There's
issues.
like a storage area and a spot for him to sleep and the cockpit. Like there's
no, he sleeps in the cockpit.
Does he?
Yeah, he
I don't
sleeps
remember
in the
that
cockpit.
part. Still, it seems like there's a ridiculous
I'll
amount of
pass
space
you
in
along
the thing.
the Boba Fett trilogy.
Oh no, I have the Boba Fett
okay.
trilogy.
Yeah, no, he sleeps in the cockpit. There's the cockpit, and there's the bay, and the cage in the bay. Where he puts people.
I know.
Which would be horrible during acceleration.
I feel far worse for that time when they lost Atmo and Fett had to take the guy out of the cage and shove his breathing tube in his mouth and then occasionally take it back like, bitch, this is mine. All right, let's do this. His backpack has jets. He's
Boba the Fett.
He bounty hunts for Jabba Hutt to finance his vet. He chills
Wait,
in deep space. A mask is over his face. I can't.
We
do the
don't like
fast
MC
part.
Chris. No.
I can't
Not
do
at
the
all.
fast part.
Trying to think of weird sci-fi ships. Because I know there's a
I just
bunch
haven't
that
seen
we
that many
haven't thought of yet.
off-brand sci-fi franchises. So
Well, and that's why I was opening up to the anime, because I know there's a whole lot of anime ships that we're not even thinking of.
Oh, shit, fucking Harlock's ship, and I'm forgetting the name of it. That thing's goddamn amazing. It's a goddamn space pirate ship, but, like, not a space pirate ship, a space pirate ship. I love you, Captain Harlock.
Well, seems like we've kind of exhausted our talk
Yeah.
of ships.
I think we may have run out of steam.
Suits and armor and variations from different series. Because you can look at various troopers from the stormtroopers in their white armor to different but similar. The Battlestar Galactica, what is it? Federation soldiers in there, because in that one the Federation is the bad guys.
what? Battlestar Galactica?
No,
No,
it's
that's
the
no,
Cylons versus people.
Yeah.
no. Oh, I'm thinking of a third. Blake Seven. Blake Seven was with the bad Federation.
I don't know.
God, British sci-fi. There were a couple of British sci-fi series that were really cool.
Babylon
I'm
5?
drawing-
The Brits
Babylon
engaged
5
a lot more
had
of that
interesting
outlandish
armor,
shit
too.
before America did. So much of America's entertainment started like somewhat grounded in reality. Like one of the earliest TV shows was adapted from like crime radio broadcasts.
All right, that's about all the time we have for today. Thanks for listening. We are informed and confused. Bye.
Next time on Informed and Confused.
The Kaiser!
The Kaiser!
The Kaiser!
Largely the fact that you and I know nothing and are stoned.
I'm hoping for guillotines.
Ooh, that would be fun.
Right?
Mm.